The Lagotera Dam was built in 1922 on the Crne Gore River to serve as an electricity factory, as the small hydroelectric installations, these days known as micro-hydro systems, used to be called. The stretch of river where it was built is now in a protected area included in the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. In addition to unique wooded areas, the river itself contains interesting species of environmental value for various social groups, among which fish are of particular importance. The structure of the dam consists of a wall presenting an impassable barrier for fish species and an area of disused gates that lead to a bypass channel. At present, besides several evident signs of deterioration, the basin of the dam is partially silted up even in the immediate vicinity of the wall. In September 2011, once the concession period and the rights under which it had been applied had terminated, the Water Board of the Douro Hydrographic Confederation proceeded to remove the dam and the part of the channel located in the public hydraulic domain in compliance with current legislation. The work was carried out under the auspices of the Douro Hydrographic Confederation's Programme for the Conservation and Maintenance of River Basins, which forms part of the Spanish National Strategy for the Restoration of Rivers, instigated by the Spanish Ministry for the Environment and Rural and Marine Affairs.
De forma caprichosa, sino porque la legislación desde el año 2003 nos exige que cuando un aprovechamiento de esta naturaleza queda fuera de uso, cuando ya no sirve, las infraestructuras asociadas que están en el río, que forman, digamos, parte del dominio público hidráulico, tienen que ser demolidas. Y esa eliminación, esa demolición se lleva a cabo fundamentalmente por motivos de recuperación medioambiental. Ni que decir tiene que este tipo de actuaciones son muy demandadas por colectivos, digamos, que quieren o que requieren de las administraciones públicas una intervención en este sentido. Esos colectivos evidentemente pues son otro tipo de usuarios diferentes a los tradicionales, que serían pescadores, grupos ecologistas, conservacionistas y público en general, que cada vez es más sensible al tema de la conservación de nuestros ríos, que a medida que los va conociendo se da cuenta de que los tenemos llenos en muchos casos de infraestructuras que no sirven, que han quedado obsoletas, que no cumplen el fin para el que fueron proyectadas, y que el mejor destino que las podemos dar, con independencia de que la legislación, insisto, así nos lo exige, ese mejor destino sería su eliminación. Conseguimos un objetivo, yo creo que muy loable dentro de lo que sería la administración pública del agua, que es la recuperación medioambiental e hidráulica de nuestros ríos.
Having conducted the pertinent studies, demolition of the Lagotera Dam began. The main technical difficulty presented by the project was the difference in elevation between the old trunk road and the riverside area. Consequently, one of the first actions was the construction of a ramp to provide construction machinery with access to the structure. As it would not be possible to remove part of the ramp once the work had concluded, materials from other restoration activities carried out on the river itself were used. An old river pool provided the sediments which formed the base of the ramp, and concrete debris was removed and transported to Lagotera to be used temporarily for the ramp. Moreover, during the construction of the access ramp, the existing riverside vegetation was respected, thus contributing to stabilizing the ramp materials whilst at the same time minimizing impact on the area. When the ramp was almost ready, dismantling of the gate area began, from which it would be necessary to remove all mechanical components prior to demolition and renovate the mechanisms for opening the gates. At the same time, members of the fish department of the Castilla and Leon regional government transported electro-fishing equipment to the site in order to rescue the aquatic fauna in the area. As expected, there was an abundance of fish, and successive trawls of the pool were required in order to capture the majority of the specimens. These, once captured, were released back into the same river in a safe area away from the intervention. It is precisely the obstacle that dams present to the migration of fish that is one of the arguments put forward by various social groups, not only people who fish for sport, as a reason for this kind of intervention.
Efectivamente hace falta pues un trabajo de concienciación o de participación ciudadana, que también es otro aspecto que se contempla en este tipo de proyectos de restauración, de la Estrategia Nacional de Restauración de Ríos. Estos proyectos tienen una componente de participación pública muy importante. Con el proyecto también recoger cuál es su idea de un río en buen estado, que es lo que al final pretendemos con este tipo de actuaciones, ¿no? Llegar a lo que dice la Directiva Marco del Agua del buen estado ecológico, que es lo que ellos entienden, y también recoger algunas de sus aportaciones que son positivas. Además, su participación muchas veces es muy importante para el éxito del proyecto.
La obra ha sido planificada, lógicamente, con los que están ejecutando la obra y con Comisaría de Aguas, y lo que se ha estado un poco es muy pendiente de que por parte de la guardería y por los medios que nosotros tenemos, aportando los medios para el rescate de las poblaciones de peces, tanto aguas arriba de lo que era la FIT como en el pie de la presa, que ha habido lógicamente que hacer labores de rescate y que han ido un poco motivadas en función de cómo ha ido evolucionando lo que es la obra.
Having constructed the ramp, the deconstruction machinery was able to enter the area. Once the way had been cleared to lift the gates, an opening was made in the rear section of the bypass channel to enable an initial lowering of the water level in a controlled manner. When the gates were opened, the water level dropped by less than 1 meter, but the process of mobilizing the sediment in the area closest to the wall had begun. As expected, the layer of sludge was very thin, and the predominant type of sediment soon rose to the surface, gravel and decimeter-sized blocks, with some sandy areas on the inner side of the meander. Through this controlled opening of the gates, the impact on the stretches of river located below the demolition area was minimized, and water quality levels were maintained within tolerable limits for aquatic species. After a couple of hours, the water level stabilized again, and it was possible to begin the main demolition phase. The channel area was reinforced to provide machinery with access to the wall by stacking chunks of concrete on one side and giving sufficient width to the area. This concrete would be removed during the last phase of the work, but was now used to facilitate the passage of the machinery to the gates. The gates were the most heavily reinforced part of the structure, and so it was necessary to dismantle them gradually with the machinery, trying to separate the metal structure from the concrete. This was a laborious process, as the aim was to conduct a meticulous selection of the reinforced concrete debris in order to remove it separately. After this painstaking work, the way was clear, providing the machinery with access to the wall itself. This access would enable a further controlled lowering of the water level. To this end, a 1 meter deep opening was made in the center of the dam. A few minutes later, the water level had dropped significantly, and the sediments deposited by the river and accumulated over 90 years in the dammed area began to be exposed.